Hey there, everybody. So I was promising a video of this type where I was analyzing DK for some time. I understand. Um, so there was actually a specific reason why I delayed this video. Is what like the primary reason is because I was using this specific VOD to like screen some people that I was helping me out for ASU. So I didn't want to give them any direct clues by just dropping a video before like their interview. And yeah, so since that is over, now I have no reasons whatsoever to delay it any time longer. So I'm sorry if you were anticipating it and you weren't seeing it. But this video is going to be centered around actually a concept that bothers me quite a bit because as human beings, like we are forced to have some sort of confirmation bias, and we're forced to have a result based point of view, which is somewhat understandable, but could sometimes like take away major things that could have worked, but didn't necessarily like show in the game because of specific anomalies that happen in the game. But yet again, what we need to realize is that anomalies are not the things that we need to think about when we're watching these games, but the overall trends and the replicable like strategies. As a result, this is going to be a short section of the game between Hanwha and DK, where game two. And we're specifically going to talk about the specific like the Damwon movements that they have executed that did not necessarily turn out well, but however, it would have been under the different type of circumstances. So this gank entirely is again surmounted by the fact that Volibear is like trying to match the speed of Graves, and then as a result, like look for matching level 6 and as make a play on the other side of the map, because naturally the champion would like to clear as fast as possible and then make sure that he is not left behind. So as a result, Canya's assumption is that since these wolves and raptors and Krugs are coming up, Arthur will be at least be at wolves, and as a result, like this top gank is free to go for. It's under the end because he is thinking that Volibear is nowhere to be found to answer to this play. And in many ways, this could actually be end up being a like a trade in terms of like objectives if Arthur wasn't here, because this is around the situation where Damwon has picked Ezreal Brahms. They have completely ceded the boss side control. As a result, they don't even care about this dragon. They're entirely unaware of the fact that they're going to have to cede this Infernal Dragon anyway. So he's playing around the fact that like Volibear is going to path towards the boss side of the map and going to be controlling this anyway, so might as well look for a score on the top side. However, Arthur is the one who delays this entire like pathing down pathing. As a result, like he's going to be able to pick up some of these kills, mainly on Sion and as a result on Graves. So when DK is thinking about this, then there's two things that they have in mind. One is the Canyon's dead, so like that's not even worth mentioning other than like that small snippet. Another thing is that now if you look at the wave, Sion, one of the best parts about Sion is that he's going to be able to clear the wave. As a result, the wave's going to crash. So what that means is that Greg is going to be forced to burn TP, and that he's going to slow shove the wave back around the tide, the Volibear is going to be pathing down. So what this implies is could be a couple things. One is that Sion could immediately just like run back and then get a TP advantage, but however the TP advantage is not going to be expended as well, because even if Sion has TP advantage, the bottom disparity is too big for him to contribute anything is meaningful in team fights. Again, tank champions are someone that you don't necessarily pick. Even Sion is like somewhat similar to Ornn in a way that you do not necessarily want to have pull them towards objectives and want to wait for their first mythic. The notable part about being a tank is that the Aegis of the Legion and the Bomby Cinder build is rather impressive, but at the same time, the cutoff really pays off during their first mythic. As a result, you want to keep them in the isolated lane as long as possible, and that is Damwon's plan. So what their entire plan then would be is to lock Gragas and Sion in a lane as long as possible, wait for Sion to outscale the matchup, and as a result become a better frontline in the later stages of the game, and at the same time ensure that Seraphine backs at a reasonable time and is able to get her Moonstone components, so she's able to neutralize mid lane against Sylas as the lanes, as the matchup increasingly starts to swing towards the Sylas side the moment that he hits 6. And this is the third cannon wave, which is around the time that he is going to hit 6 anyway. As a result, Domin is aware of this and they need to get Showmaker recall, otherwise he's going to be in danger of resetting at a really poor time where he's going to be like Shobi's going to crash his wave in and that he's going to be locked in the tower without TP. So Sion TPs. And the reason why this is really good is because one, like there's a chance that he's going to be able to get level 6 because he cleared this wave already. So like if he is able to, even if he's able to split EXP like he said, like he gets level 6 just off of killing his minion. So he's gonna be able to ulti up to top lane if like Gragas decides to like really fast push the same, pour all of his mana, which then Sion's completely happy because he's gonna be able to play, his wave clear is much cheaper, and it also like prevents Sion from dealing any damage. So this entire game plan so far from Damwon has been all a bit under assumption, but it just happened to be that jungle was at that specific spot and it ended up becoming a quote unquote mistake. And then Chovy also looks for the opportunity and the solo kill Showmaker, which it pretty much foils Damo's plan entirely. Because even if they're able to shove in the wave, it means that Chovy was also able to get the lead. And Sion realistically cannot shove this champion out without immense pressure, especially if Arthur just actually shows up right here and they shove Sion out entirely. And then their game plan would have been ruined. But Hano doesn't seal the nail in the coffin, so they're allowed to play the game out. And he's past the Raptors anyway. And they're going to be able, and you could still see the fact that like Dama's movements and the way that they were planning to play the game, it just didn't work the way that they wanted. The next thing that I want to showcase is a little bit later, because this actually has a connecting play to this, because now like Gragas is the one that was able to get the wave crash, because Sion was so delayed in terms of his reset to the point that he was not able to safely ulti up to the top side and then get all the farm that he needed. So now the wave has crashed and he's not going to be able to sustain the freeze. That it creates increasingly another problem where the top lane prio is like established. As a result, Volibear is going to be able to take his red buff. This is extremely terrible for Canyon, like because of the obvious reasons of like red buff being inherently essential to both these champions, and one being denied is a huge deal. But this is another like situation where Canyon like kind of like predicts what Arthur is going to do, but it just misfires because of the results itself rather than his like prediction being wrong per se. Because in reality, when you're ahead in jungle, then you're like most likely the champion that wants to get ahead anyway. And as a result, like when he is able to get red buff and his entire blue side is spawning, then one would expect that he's clearing these camps and then patting down to dragon. Remember that like in terms of like the draft composition that like HLE has drafted, with having a jinx in the bot lane means that they have to ensure getting this dragon. And as a result, that's what Dama's assumption is yet again. As a result, like a lot of people were probably surprised by the fact that Canyon hopped this wall and started hitting this herald, but it is under that assumption and under that principle that he just started hopping over this wall. Because if you really think about it, after Volibear finishes blue and his Gromp and the wolves, and he's gonna be pathing down, it's just that the timing of this time and specifically the wards have revealed what Canyon is potentially going to do, and he didn't get the ample amount of information to like actually counteract this play. So these are small attempts of Damo trying to get the cross-map plays up their supposed like an analyzed weak side, and they just get punished for it. It's yet another mechanical mistake just because he had ultimate. So as a result, if he just like goes back here and then he's just going to be able to get out of this scotch-free, but he ends up dying anyway, which becomes an increasingly huge problem that like Damo has to solve later at later stages. But you can still see the principle. And the entire point of me just like making this like video is to show you the fact that like it's actually a very poor way to look upon the game to say that Dama messed up because Canyon got caught, or Dama messed up because they tried to tower dive a Gragas when Volibear was on that side of the map. All of these were played with the basis, and if you understand the basis, then you're going to be able to apply it, especially as a coach or a player, when similar situations happen, and like these situations may work 90% of the time under the right circumstances.